He then presents another lie, quoting Rabbi Yirmiyoh, who says that Eichu 3:6, or Lamentations 3:6, refers to the Babylonian Talmud, and alleges that they, quote, engage in dark discussions. Now, does this mean that the Talmud, ironically enough, calls the Talmud, quote, dark and disturbing? We should also note the fact that when Rabbi Yirmiyoh, in the place that Judaism Unveiled cites to suggest the Babylonian Talmud is a, quote, dark book, we see he does not elaborate regarding such a thing, and never explains what, quote, dark matters he was referring to. However, we do see an elaboration in two other places in the Gemara, one in Maseches Yomah and another in Maseches Pesachim. In both of these places, he says the following, referring to Rabbi Yirmiyoh. Foolish Babylonians, because you dwell in a dark land, you state halachos that are darkened. In these two different places, he discusses halachos that are cited by the scholars of Babylon, such as the Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yirmiyoh. Now, if we go to these places, we see that his objections are answered and no other complaints regarding these halachas are given after he receives an answer for them. I mention this because Judaism Unveiled attempts to suggest that Rabbi Yirmiyoh thought that what he, that being Judaism Unveiled, puts up on his page and scoffs at were dark and disturbing matters, whereas this is not the case even in the slightest, as the dark matters being discussed are solely in relation to what Rabbi Yirmiyoh considers invalid jurisprudence, not theological matters. This once again further proves how deceptive Judaism Unveiled is, as he prefers to rip things straight out of their context and then work them into his new frame that he invents for himself, and proceeds to trick his gullible Muslim audience into agreeing with whatever he says due to their lack of knowledge and nuance on the subject of which he is choosing to slander. One should note that aside from the fact that no response is given to the rebuttals to Rabbi Yirmiyoh's claims regarding the, quote, weak halachas of Babylon, that his very teachers, such as Rabbi Zera, had themselves been returnees to the land of Israel from Babylon and had actually received the Torah and learned the Halachos and Agadas under the sages of Babylon. Regarding his lie that Rashi, quote, explains the Talmud is a doubtful book, we should establish now that there are only two possibilities for the origin of such a blatantly erroneous statement. A, he has never read a commentary of any work from any time period, including Islamic ones, or B, he is a liar and aware of his lie. If we believe that he is honest and just not careful enough to keep himself from this obvious error, then one must select option A. Why is this? Because Rashi structures his commentary in this matter in the exact same way as one of his biggest mufassirun, Ibn Kathir. Rashi firstly highlights a passage that he wishes to give exegesis upon, and then explains the meaning of the passage. Ibn Kathir, in the exact same manner, highlights a passage and then elaborates upon it. So no, Rashi does not explain that the Talmud is a, quote, doubtful book. He merely elaborates that Rabbi Yirmiyoh thought that the Babylonian Talmud was doubtful. Now, once again, you must have an issue with pathological lying to believe that Rashi thought the Babylonian Talmud was doubtful, as he himself uses it like every single other Jew for rulings, halacha in every manner, and understanding the Torah in general, where he uses the Jerusalem Talmud far less and actually to the point where quotations from the Jerusalem Talmud are sparse in comparison to quotations from the Babylonian in his own commentary. It is like saying that Ibn Kathir thought that Sahih al-Bukhari was a, quote, doubtful book because he elaborates on the opinion of someone who stated that it was doubtful. This concludes with our first two premises. He is either entirely unqualified or just a liar. Personally, I think he fits both premises, but that is just my opinion. Finally, about the authority of the Babylonian Talmud over the Jerusalem, Perkei ben Bavoy explains that the Babylonian Talmud is more authoritative than the Jerusalem due to the fact that the Jerusalem Talmud was compiled in a manner which was less secure than the Babylonian, and in a time of intensive repression of the Jews in the land of Israel. While the Jerusalem's transmission is still very secure and authoritative, when the Jerusalem Talmud holds invariance to the Babylonian, we normally go with the Babylonian unless there is a circumstance present which causes an exception. To conclude, I find it ironic that he does not further point out that the source in which this statement is presented is the Babylonian Talmud. The goal of Judaism Unveiled is similar to that of 17th century Lutherans, to make the Gemara look like this evil book that was made by some satanic cabal of supposed rabbis. If this was the case, one must ask why the Babylonian Talmud would include such a harsh insult toward itself in its own work. It once again just makes the Gemara seem far more honest than Judaism Unveiled wishes it was. He does not wish to critique our religion, he wishes to critique what he wants our religion to be. Shalom Aleichem, B'Rachmanas Hashem.